This last week at Easter, we did three things about identity. We defined it. Yesterday, I dug into that a little bit more. I remind you today that when we sign up for Summer Stretch, we are signing up to grow exponentially. We're signing up to push ourselves beyond our level of comfort. We're signing up to become the people God called us to be. In all of our years of Stretch, I've been excited every year, and this year is no different. That this year we would press into what God says defines us. That's one of the ways I defined an identity. Your identity is a combination of three things. It is the story you tell yourself about yourself. If you tell good stories, your identity is relatively stable. If you tell bad stories, your identity is seriously unstable. It's what we identify with, whether that be a profession, athletics, recreation, our family. It's what we identify with. And lastly, it is what we are defined by. Through Summer Stretch, what I want to do is empower you to recognize how God has defined you. Embracing that so you can embrace the person God has created you to be and release the person that culture imposes on you that you should be. We will either define ourselves by what the world says or what God's word says. In God's word, Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, it says that you are God's workmanship. The little word there, Greek poema, means you're God's poem. You're something, an expression of who he is. In 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, it says that you or we are God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved. In 1 John chapter 3, verse 1, it says that you and I are the beloved children of God. Whenever I begin to define myself by what God says, I begin to adjust my identity toward Christ and away from culture. When I begin to embrace what God's word says, I begin to renew my mind and are transformed because I'm no longer conforming to the world. You and I are on a journey. And this summer, over the next 3 months, I invite you to stretch. I invite you to grow. I invite you to become more of who God says you are. I'll see you tomorrow.